There has been always a confusion about the origin or the birth of the violin. Instruments like the violin that use a bow to produce a sound are called bow-stringed instruments. The Arabian rebab and the rebec, which came from the Orient in the Middle Ages and was played widely in Spain and France in the 15th century, are said to be the ancestors of the violin. Near the end of the Middle Ages, a bow-stringed instrument called a fiddle appeared in Europe. In the East, the Chinese erhu and molinkhur evolved from rebab, and so they are relatives of the violin. The two earliest violin makers in recorded history are both from northern Italy: Andrea Amati from Cremona and Gaspar di Bertolotti from Salern. The oldest violin in existence today is one built by Andrea Amati around 1565. Normally, when a student joins with me for the violin class, I ask them, which method do you want to play, Western or the Carnatic? Most of them say they don't know the difference between the Western and the Carnatic method. As you know, in India, we have two methods, the Carnatic and the Hindustani. South Indians normally use the Carnatic method and North Indians follow the Hindustani method. However, we can call them together as Indian music. So, in today's video, I am going to explain the difference between the Western violin and the Indian method of playing the violin or the Carnatic violin. The first and the most important difference between these two methods is the tuning of the violin. We tune the Western violin like G, D, A, E from the thicker string to the thinner one by keeping the standard frequency 440 Hz. If you haven't learned or if you don't know to tune the violin perfectly in the Western method, you can just click the link above and you can learn how to tune the Western violin. At the same time, we tune the Carnatic or the Hindustani violin like sa, pa, sa, pa, or we can say G, D, G, D. Also, in the Carnatic method, we change the tuning according to the Shruti or pitch. But in the Western method, we never change the tuning. Now let us talk about the structure of these violins. Basically, both are same and look alike. But some of the professional players adjust their violin's sound pose according to the sharpness they need. And also in India we can see some manufacturers, they make Indian violins. They specially make it for the Hindustani or for the Carnatic players. However, we can change a violin to Carnatic tuning or to Western tuning easily. Now let us have a look at the lessons that we learn in both methods. Usually, in the Carnatic method, not only for the violin but for all the instruments, even for the vocal training, we use the same notes, or we can say we follow the same syllabus. So there we learn like Sarali Varishakal and different Varishakal, Geetam, Varnam, Alankarams, a lot of things like that. And as I said, in the Carnatic method we follow the same notes for all the instruments. But when we come to Western method, we have different syllabus or curriculum for each instrument, and it's entirely different for the vocal. It is time to think about the holding of the violin. Everybody thinks that the holding is the main difference between these two methods. Fine, let's examine 2-3 violins to understand this. Here is a picture of Binesh Babu. I hope you all know him. He's a great Indian violinist. Now, here's a picture of Esther Abrami. He is a really well-known Western player. Now look at another picture, Duba Revati. I hope you all know her too. And here is Carolina. Let's compare their holdings first. See Binesh Babu and Esther Abrami. They have held the violin in a similar way. Does it make Binesh Babu a Western player? No. Even though we learn the holding in a different way in the Carnatic or in the Hindustani method, When you reach a level, especially when you want to play on the stage, definitely you hold the violin in this way, especially if you need exposure. Because I know a lot of students who learn Carnatic method 5, 6 years and they come to me and they tell me, Sir, we want to learn the Western method to get some exposure. Actually, if a person who can play the Carnatic method very well, he or she can definitely hold the violin like this as we hold normally in the Western method easily. And it is just a matter of practice. Here, Binesh Babu, Ruba Revati, and Carolina, Esther Abrahami, they all have held the violin in the Western method. But as you know, Binesh Babu and Ruba Revati, they are pure Indian players. So always remember, the holding doesn't change the method that you follow. We all know our beloved Balabhaskar. So he is a pure Carnatic player, but you know how he used to hold the violin on stages, especially whenever he does a fusion. So always remember the holding doesn't matter. But there are differences in the holding. As you know, in the Carnatic method, normally we sit on the floor, we hold the legs, and we hold the violin in both Carnatic and Hindustani. We don't use the shoulder rest. Some other differences are there. But when we come to the Western method, normally we stand and play the violin. We use a shoulder rest. There are also people who don't use the shoulder rest. But as I said, even though you learn Carnatic or Hindustani, when you come on a stage, definitely if you need by a few practice, you can change your holding to the Western method and still you can follow the Carnatic or the Hindustani method to play. Now let's come to the playing method. Unlike the Western playing, Carnatic is very close to human voice, and a Carnatic player tries to bring all the nuances he or she listens in a song. And therefore, if you ask two Carnatic players to play the song Uire, both will play the song with a lot of variations and ornaments. But at the same time, when we come to Western method, it's entirely different. If you give a note, a sheet music to two or three or 10 or hundreds of violinists, and if you ask them to play the piece, everybody will play the notes in the same way. There will be uniformity. Maybe the vibrato will be a little bit different. Other than that, it will sound exactly same. So now when we talk about the vibrato, a lot of people think that the Western style has the vibrato, but in the Carnatic method we don't have the vibrato. But actually, if you ask any professional Carnatic player or a guru, he will tell you that there is vibrato in Indian method too. Normally it's called Kampita Gamagam. Well, let's talk about the Gamagams and the next one, the technique. So when we talk about the technique, in Western method, the tendency is to play individual notes, though slurs are used. Whereas in the Indian method, the focus is more on having the notes flow and merge into each other. The Western style does not have the concept of varying between subnotes within the same note, but at the same time, the Indian style, especially Carnatic violin, gives a lot of emphasis on this. Example, as I said before, the Gamagas. Now, finally, when we talk about the best method, so usually people ask me, sir, which is the best method to start with, or which is the best method to play songs, or something like that. So I remember when I used to teach karate, people used to ask me, sir, which is the best style to follow? Is it Shotokan, Shitoryu, or which one should I learn? Kung Fu, Karate, or Taekwondo? So what I used to tell them is this one: whatever you learn, it doesn't matter. You learn it properly, learn it perfectly, practice it very well. So when we come to the music or when we come to the method of the violin playing, whether it is Indian method or whether you follow the Western method or if you follow the African or Egyptian or any other method, it doesn't matter which method you learn, but it matters how you learn and how you practice. Unfortunately, most of the people think if we learn the Western method, we can't play Indian songs. Also, some people think if we learn the Indian music or Indian method of playing, we can't play the Western songs or pop songs, something like that. But if you just think about Carolina, she has learned the Western method, also definitely some other methods. But when you think about her and you can watch her performances, she has recently played a lot of Indian songs on the streets. So you know that when you definitely you have watched, I guess. I have learned a little bit Carnatic, but mainly I have learned only the Western. I don't know anything much about the Carnatic, but I play a lot of Indian songs. I arrange a lot of songs. I transcribe the Indian songs. Also, I transcribe the other language songs. So the method that you learn is not very important. It doesn't make much difference also. But the way you practice, the effort that you put into your practice, and how you set your goal, and that's very very important. Because in the Western method, you're not going to learn the notes the same way. Each tutor teaches different notes. Some teaches the Suzuki, some teach some other essential elements, string builders, something like that. In that case, it's not what you learn. It's all about how you learn and how you practice. So now I hope at least you have a little bit idea about these two methods. Anyway, if you have any doubts, if you have any suggestions, if you have any more information about this, please comment. So it will help me. Also, it will help everyone. Bye bye. Thank you.